everybody, and welcome to Elite Weather Forecasting. My name is Mr. G. I am your meteorologist. Hope you guys are having a wonderful Sunday. The weather's working out for you, and you're having a great day and a wonderful weekend. So I am back with you once again with another weather forecast for you guys. I gotta let you know what to expect, because we have a Monday coming up, a new work week, a new school week for those of us who work and are also students, or you just work. But here's your weather forecast for this week. So we're going to jump right into it as we see our big world view here, a big map of the United States. It includes parts of the tropics. There's this thing here, I don't know, there's some kind of boundary thing on here that I don't know how to take it off. I don't know what it is. But this here, I don't know how to get this off of the map. But anyway, but here's the map of the country right now. And we have a couple of areas with some interesting weather taking place. And we are seeing this Colorado low across the four corners. We're seeing much of the snow that was across the Rockies and the Colorado and Utah has ended, but we are looking at severe thunderstorms now through parts of the Southern Plains, New Mexico, western Texas. We are looking at some severe thunderstorms this afternoon, damaging winds and small hail. It's the primary threat, but you can see all of the lightning strikes. You see all the flashes here? Those are lightning strikes, so we do have some severe thunderstorms across the plains. Beautiful weather on the eastern United States. So the eastern half of the country, from Texas, from West Texas and the western plains eastward to the Atlantic. Very beautiful weather today. And down to the south, there is Hurricane Oscar. Hurricane Oscar in the tropics. So you can see the lightning strikes down across the tropics and the Caribbean Sea. You can see the flashes. Those are all lightning strikes down there. So that's a look at the big picture of the weather. And in the Pacific Northwest, you might be barely able to see the clouds here. So we are looking at the atmospheric river coming up from Hawaii across the Pacific, coming into the Pacific Northwest, northwestern Washington, and British Columbia. So we're seeing a heavy rain and mountain snow over the mountains in British Columbia and the higher elevations of the Olympic mountain range. The conditions, this moisture is pretty warm, so the snow levels are very high with this situation. So we're not looking at a whole bunch of snow down across the Olympic mountains. But we are seeing a little bit more substantial snow across the border in British Columbia and in Canada. So we're seeing higher snowfall rates there. But we are looking at, but now what we're going to do is expand the map, zoom in, take a closer look at our two trouble spots and the beautiful weather in the east. And then we'll move on to our weather maps and show you what to expect in the upcoming week and the days ahead, where we can see some severe weather through some parts of the central and southern plains. So here we are looking at the Pacific Northwest. You can see Seattle and Vancouver right there as that heavy rain continues to move into northwestern Washington and southwestern British Columbia. So that atmospheric river, you see that plume of moisture coming up from the southwest. So we're going to see that heavy rain continue for Seattle and Everett and folks in the northwestern Washington area, Puget Sound, across the border there in Victoria, British Columbia, and Vancouver. We're also seeing that heavy rain continue and spread off toward the northeast. So a bit of a wet go here across the far northwestern Pacific Northwest, but some areas have seen as much as 10 inches of rainfall which could lead to some flooding in the valleys and flash floods coming down the mountains like that. So much of this is too warm for snow. So we're looking at our first real situation with the atmospheric river. So this storm system is bringing copious amounts of Pacific moisture down from the central Pacific. So we're seeing all of that moisture streaming up the mountains and the Cascades and the Olympic mountain ranges. So we're seeing lots of heavy rainfall on the westward slopes and hills of the Olympic mountains and the Cascade mountains and any southern facing ranges as well, because we're seeing that pattern flow generally coming from the southwest toward the northeast. So we're going to see the heavy rain continue there across the PNW. All right. So now let's move down across the southern Rockies and the southern plains and take a look at our Colorado low that's going to be ejecting into the plains, bringing some severe thunderstorms and potential for excessive rainfall today. So now that we're down across the Four Corners areas, you can see over California and Nevada, very clear skies. High pressure is building back in from the Pacific. So you can see a very dry, clear skies here across California and Nevada. But over to the east, across Colorado, Utah, northeastern Arizona, northern New Mexico, West Texas here, the Texas Panhandle, you are seeing those clouds, showers, and thunderstorms. Some of these areas have been very parched, dealt with fire weather, very dry conditions. So flash flooding is going to be highly possible in these regions, especially in the hilly and mountainous areas, and then through some of the valleys and passes. We're going to see the potential for flooding because excessive rainfall is definitely going to be likely in this region, in this area as well, over eastern New Mexico, southern Colorado, southeastern Colorado, western Oklahoma, the Panhandle, West Texas, western Kansas. So closer to the Colorado border, we're going to see that plume of moisture coming out, being pulled up ahead of our low pressure sensor, and a cold front sweeping out of the southern Rockies into the southern plains. It's pulling some moisture off of the Gulf of Mexico, but high pressure to the east is going to help to funnel some of that moisture into the central and southern plains. And we're going to see those severe thunderstorms, and we're going to take a look at those parameters later on in the video. But here we are seeing those severe showers and thunderstorms. You can see the lightning strikes here, and you can see those temperatures on this as this pivots around. You can see those temperatures in the 60s and lower 70s here across the southern plains. So we've definitely lost that excessive heat. With those temperatures in the triple digits, we have definitely lost that. But now we are dealing with a period here of excessive rainfall and some severe thunderstorms that's going to be bringing lightning. So we're going to see some damaging winds and small hail is going to be possible with heavy rainfall that could lead to flooding and flash flooding. So let's go to the east and take a look at how things are looking across the northeast and the eastern half of the continental U.S. So now you can see the eastern half of the United States where high pressure is in control across the eastern two-thirds of the nation here. And mainly an offshore flow is coming, and we have winds coming from the northwest here in the northeast, and then from the north to the south along the Atlantic seaboard. And then we have northeast to southwest onshore flow across Florida and southern South Carolina and Georgia on the southern periphery of that ridge of high pressure. So then we get winds coming from the east to the west, and then it's going to turn back toward the northwest to turn northward over the mainland, over Louisiana and Texas, to go northward before pivoting toward the northeast again. So we're seeing that airflow circle clockwise around that area of high pressure, and it's pushing any pieces of energy from that Colorado low coming out of the Rockies far to the north into Canada. So it's keeping the East Coast, the Great Lakes and the Plains, the upper Midwest and the Southeast clear and dry at the moment, even though many of these places are in drought conditions. Some areas are in severe drought conditions. Rainfall is needed in the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes and the Northeast down through even though we had Hurricane Helene that did drop tremendous amounts of rainfall, but one event does not cancel out it may make a dent, but it does not cancel out the months that we have had of a lack of precipitation across the eastern U.S., the mid-Atlantic, down through the Carolinas and Georgia and Florida. So we've seen dry conditions. And even though we have a hurricane out there over the Caribbean, so Hurricane Oscar will actually brush Cuba before making a hard right turn tomorrow and head back out over the Atlantic toward the Northeast. So it's going to virtually go back out to sea and it's being blocked by that high pressure over the eastern United States, high pressure over the south central U.S. So that is blocking any tropical impacts across the Gulf of Mexico, the Atlantic, and the Caribbean Sea from impacting the continental United States. So we do have a blockade in place right now that's keeping everybody safe so that they can continue with cleanup and recovery efforts from Hurricane Milton, Hurricane Helene as well. So perfect weather conditions will continue for the next several days over the next week. So those efforts can continue. So now that we've covered the trouble spots and the significant weather across the country, so we're going to jump into our maps. Take a look at the forecast now that we have explored what's currently the current conditions. So we're going to take a look at the forecast, and we're going to start off with the tropics and Hurricane Oscar. Okay, now, so we're going to continue with our weather forecast for you guys today, and we're going to talk about the tropics first, and we're going to take a look at Hurricane Oscar. And you can see Hurricane Oscar is right here. It's a Category 1 storm, so it's not the biggest storm in the world. Winds are about 75 miles per hour, so it's barely minimum Category 1, and it's going to make landfall here over eastern Cuba, but it's going to make a hard right turn and head back out to sea. So this will be a very brief landfall, and then it will weaken to a tropical storm, and it will be a tropical storm for a few days heading back out to northeast before it begins to weaken into just a disturbance. So we have a short-lived hurricane here, and here is the remnants of Tropical Storm Nadine down here across Central America. So you can see that it made landfall over Honduras. So it's going to be continuing to track toward the west. Eventually, it might re-evolve in the Pacific, but the Pacific has not been very active because we have a La Nina, and La Nina tends to suppress activity in the Pacific side, and it tends to amplify activity in the east, in the Atlantic. So, unlike last year where we had below average storms in the Atlantic, but very busy Pacific, because of El Nino, when La Nina is flip-flop. So now we have the exact opposite. So that is a look at our satellite. Here is the track that Oscar will be taking. There we go. Hurricane Oscar will be making landfall at 8 a.m. tomorrow Monday. That's what we're going to see tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. And then in the afternoon, we're going to see 8 p.m. It's going to begin to make that turn toward the northeast. And then 8 a.m. on Tuesday. and 8 p.m. Tuesday and 8 a.m. on Wednesday, it will be back out, heading towards, just clearing away from the Bahamas and heading back out over the Atlantic and south of Bermuda. So we will be watching it make its way back, but it will be no longer be a hurricane. We will see it as a tropical storm as it makes that hard right turn and heads back out to sea. And here is the look. We have the remnants of the old we have the remnants of an old non-tropical system here, and we have Oscar right there. Then we have the current, the flow that we see, that northeasterly flow. So this low pressure, Oscar and all, will be heading up toward the northeast out that way above the Bermuda High. And we have high pressure off the Gulf Coast of the U.S. So the Gulf Coast high here will make for a northerly component, and everything blowing from the north, because this low pressure center here over the Atlantic, that low, this high, we have winds coming across the high over the axis, the top of the high traversing the axis of the high, and so we see an offshore flow. And we are also seeing an offshore flow here over eastern Florida because of the counterclockwise circulation around this area of low pressure. So we're also seeing those winds come across the top of the low and down on the west side, on the back side of that low, and northerly flow, so north to south, and then south to east. So it because, again, one of the reasons why it's going to take Oscar back out toward the northeast, because of the interaction with that much bigger and much more influential extratropical weather system to the north there. And here's a look at the wind impacts from Hurricane Oscar, and we will see that a small area here of damaging winds that could reach 100 miles per hour right in this region here, just to on the eastern edge of Cuba. So we will see about a 10 to 15 mile area that will see winds up to 100 miles per hour. Here are the impacts. So we will see high impacts over eastern Cuba from Hurricane Oscar. And then here we go with rainfall amounts from Hurricane Oscar. And in eastern Cuba, we are going to be seeing those rainfall amounts where some mountainous areas can see as much as 12 inches of rain. So a lot of rain possible from Hurricane Oscar. Here is a look at the southwestern U.S. and the western intermountain west of the U.S. Right now, we're seeing cooler conditions in the wake of that cold front that swept through the desert southwest and that low pressure center that's currently departing to the east. Here is the aftermath, that cooler air on the backside of that low. But if you go further to the west and north here, high pressure building in off of the Pacific will kind of stabilize things and warm things up as warmer air, but it will be comfortable. Temperatures in the mild 60s and 70s will come back onshore, Central California, Southern Oregon. So we will see high pressure again begin to build in the wake of that departing low pressure center. But out ahead of that low pressure and that cold front, we are seeing showers, thunderstorms coming up across East Texas, West Texas here. So the western and the Oklahoma Panhandle, southwestern Kansas, eastern New Mexico. We're seeing showers and those severe thunderstorms. Heavy rain and flash flooding is going to be the primary threat. Maybe some small hail and damaging winds, but tornadoes are not expected. But showers here, some scattered showers and thunderstorms. I mean, some isolated thunderstorms across eastern New Mexico and eastern Colorado. Some snow showers still will be possible here, south central Colorado and north central New Mexico as well. So we're seeing those snow showers around Grand Junction, Denver as well. So Telluride, if you're in those regions, you could see some snow showers out there. The bulk of the snow it has dissipated as our storm has dropped a little bit further to the south and is going to be sliding to the east out into the plain states tomorrow. So on Monday, we're going to start to see more impacts of that storm across the central and southern plains as we head into the beginning of this upcoming work week. And here is a bigger look at that low pressure center. There's our Colorado low, our first Colorado low of the season, and that's going to be bringing some snow from Colorado, northern New Mexico, maybe eastern Utah, some areas in Arizona like Flagstaff, and then parts of the Wasatch Mountain Range of Utah and central Utah. The ski resorts might pick up some snow, but we're going to see those showers and thunderstorms here, some moisture from southwestern Texas and South Texas, northeastern Mexico, the Texas Panhandle. There's those severe thunderstorms here, eastern New Mexico, southwestern Colorado, western Kansas, western Oklahoma on the Panhandle, northwestern Texas, extreme northwestern Texas. We could be seeing some instability with some severe thunderstorms, and our primary threat again will be heavy rainfall. So we can see excessive rainfall, some damaging winds, and maybe some small hail as well. Here is a look at our severe weather outlook for the next several days here, where we have severe weather, and we do have a slight risk for severe thunderstorms here across eastern New Mexico, but there is a marginal risk here along the New Mexico-Colorado border, as well as with the border of Texas and Oklahoma. So the very extreme Oklahoma Panhandle down through southern New Mexico, West Texas, we have a marginal risk for severe thunderstorms today, slight risk for severe thunderstorms over central New Mexico. Tomorrow, that severe thunderstorms threat slides a little bit further into the plains, but we just have a marginal risk for severe thunderstorms across the central plains. So southern Nebraska, Kansas, central Kansas, and western Oklahoma and northern Texas, we can see a marginal risk for severe thunderstorms. So heavy rain and flash flooding could be the primary issues. Maybe some damaging winds in excess of 60 miles per hour is going to be the primary threat. Tornadoes are not going to be a worry, and we're not going to be worrying about large hail with these thunderstorms. Here is our CAT, so you can see our convective available potential energy as we work through the week here. We're going to see your Sunday here as it starts off, and then that CAPE will move into Texas and maybe into Oklahoma there. You can see a little bit of CAPE across southern Kansas. So we're seeing some CAPE move into the central and southern plains, but it's only about 1,000 joule kilograms or less. So not a whole lot of CAPE, but there is enough there to fire off some severe thunderstorms. And here is our dew point. So some moderate dew points is coming in. So we're going to see dew points here across far southern Texas in that 60 to 70 degree range. But as far as the central plains, those dew points will be in the 40s and 50s. So the dew points will not be that great, but you will have some CAPE in there. So, but not the greatest dew points. A little bit better the further you get down across Oklahoma and Texas, but Kansas and Missouri and Nebraska, a little bit less in the way of the potency of the dew points. The dew points will be in the mid 40s to lower 50s. And here is a look where that front will be. So we're going to see that front move across the plains in the early part of Monday and Tuesday, and those thunderstorms will extend from Kansas, Oklahoma, North Texas, northwestern Texas. we're going to see those showers and thunderstorms. Maybe a few showers here in Nebraska and western Iowa might see some rumbles of thunder and some showers. And we'll see a few showers eventually make it into Minnesota about midweek or so. But the warm weather is going to continue across the Northeast and the Great Lakes and the upper Midwest, so Wisconsin and the upper peninsula of Michigan and southern Canada. So the warm weather will continue across those regions through the early part of the week. And down across the Southeast, that dry weather will continue as well because of that blocking high pressure will remain in place. And this front will not be enough to nudge that high out of the way. It may compress it to the south, press it a little bit further to the south, because that front is going to slide in between the pattern to the north and the pattern to the south. So we won't see much change in the weather across the southeast this week. But a bit of a warm spell to start the week. But by the midweek and the week's end, we will see temperatures cool significantly across Minneapolis, St. Paul, the high plains of the Dakotas, and Minnesota and Wisconsin, upper Michigan, and the Great Lakes. We will see temperatures fall back as that frontal boundary passes through, and it's going to bring a few showers and a change in the wind direction. Those winds will switch from the south and southwest to the north and northwest. So a northwesterly flow, it's going to get a little bit chilly. We'll see highs go from the 70s and 80s down into the 50s for the most part. So enjoy a few nice warm days where those temperatures could be as much as 15 to 25 degrees above historical averages, especially Sunday into Monday. But Tuesday, we'll start to see things start to fade slowly in a few days a few degrees at a time each day. We'll see those temperatures begin to fade back. So looking at the Pacific Northwest, atmospheric river coming into the Puget Sound, northwestern Washington, and southwestern British Columbia. So that plume of moisture in that low pressure center will continue with that heavy rain, and that's going to continue through the remainder of your Sunday and into your Monday. And here is again that onshore flow coming mainly into the British Columbia and northwestern Canada. The Pacific Northwest. So Seattle and Vancouver and the Victoria areas will continue to have heavy rain. So the northern Cascades and the Olympic Mountains will continue to see that heavy rain. And also, we're going to see windy conditions as well. And that is a look at your weather forecast for today. My name is Mr. G. Thank you for watching me today, and I will be back again tomorrow with another video as we update how things evolve over time. And until then, have a great rest of your weekend and a good start to your Monday. Bye-bye.